2016, oil went to $27 a barrel. There was a day when oil actually traded for a negative balance, which means like technically people were paying, or they were paying you to bring oil into the pipeline. Anyways, 2016 was a bad year for Houston, Texas. Not a lot of people know this because I think we were one of the only cities in America that struggled this bad, because Houston, Texas relies on oil and gas heavily, like heavily. People say that oil and gas is less than 50% of Houston's economy, but that is just not the case. That is not true. In my opinion, I really believe that we depend on oil here in Houston, Texas, way more than what people think. I think it's probably 80% of our economy that relies on oil and gas. These are multi-billion-dollar transactions that happen on a daily basis. And I think that is what continues to grow this city. That is kind of where all the jobs are created. We're not big on tech. I mean, we are okay on tech, but we're not big on tech. We're not big on, real estate, or as big as other cities are. We're primarily an oil and gas city. So 2016, we get oil going to the lowest point it had ever dropped to. We saw a lot of companies go bankrupt. We saw a lot of layoffs. We saw a lot of job loss. The interesting part about all of this is we had C-suite and CEO level executives applying for entry-level jobs in my company. And at that time, when everybody was going through a layoff or a layoff phase, I was actually still hiring because I was developing FlexSpace. We needed project managers. We needed people to handle our books. We needed people to make sure our developments were being done. And all of the talent that we were getting at that time was from high caliber executives who were making $1 million, now are applying for a job that makes $100,000. That's the type of pay cuts that these people took. We actually did take advantage of that time and hire one person. I remember him. His name was Richard. Great guy, man. The guy was a genius. He basically was like a senior VP at one of these larger companies. He came, started working for us. He really fixed a lot of things that we had going on back then. And then, of course, he left in a very short time because that thing bounced back and he was able to find a job. But the point I'm making is that at that time, we were seeing unbelievable demand in FlexSpace. And the reason we were seeing that is there were all these larger oil and gas companies who now had multi-million-dollar budgets that were slashed. They still had a lot of money, but their multi-million-dollar budgets were slashed. And now what they were doing, they were basically looking for smaller industrial spaces for their service-based businesses. And now these people had hundreds of thousands of square feet. Now they were looking for smaller spaces that they could lease temporarily until business picks up. Things go, back to where they were. Now remember, there was also a lot of businesses that had started at that time, and those businesses could not afford, or could no longer afford, being part of this huge industrial movement. So they were also looking at FlexSpace. In addition to all the existing tenants that we had in our FlexSpace, I think 2016 for me personally was the best time because I had so much demand coming in just from top, and I anticipate that happening again. The reason I bring all of this up is I really think that people who develop FlexSpace today or are buying existing FlexSpaces today, if we do go through a massive recession tomorrow or in 2023 or whenever that is, are going to see a huge demand from just larger companies who want to downsize. And these companies are going to flood the market with demand. And I think FlexSpace is really, I'm pretty sure FlexSpace is going to thrive and make a lot of money for a lot of people. And the residential guys are going to struggle because a lot of people are going to lose their jobs and they're not going to be able to pay rent. So if this recession happens, if you are in a tenant-friendly state, my warning to you is you need to get out, because you will not be able to evict those people for 2 years. The recession will have come and the recession will have gone, and you will still be struggling to collect rent. Unlike me, because I invest in FlexSpace in landlord-friendly states where I can evict people quickly and easily.